Welcome back to the Third Stringers Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Kratz, and with me I got Justin and Paige here, and we're talking all sports all day. I promised that this was going to be a March Madness podcast. Yeah, I lied. We got that next week. We're going to do an early week next week, talking about all the March Madness teams to help make your bracket. But this week we got a few more topics to talk about before we get into that March Madness one. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Good. How about you, Kratz?
I got my car back today.
Love that.
I can't get rid of this power steering issue, and apparently it was the battery. And for everyone who's listening to the podcast and not watching, the air quotes are out for the battery. I have a feeling it's going to go out again. So we'll see.
So you're doing
I just
great.
need a new car at this point. I'm doing great.
How long was it in the shop for?
2 days.
No.
Not too bad, but
Yeah,
annoying.
but
Yeah.
That's annoying.
It's just the point that it's already been in the shop for this, so and I had to fork out another $200 just to replace a battery. But we're here today.
We're here talking about
here
sports.
today.
That's all that matters.
Thriving.
Yep, thriving. All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about some Lamar Jackson talk. For those of you who don't know, he was just franchise tagged, and currently he's still on the Ravens. But that may come to change by the end of the summer. But honestly, do we think that if he stays with the Ravens, do you think that he's going to play on the franchise tag? Let's start with Justin.
I honestly don't think he's going to stay on the Ravens. Right? They did the non-exclusive franchise tag, so they can match if they want to, but I don't think they're going to. They just kind of did that as good faith. But if he does stay, I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, he got the deal, right? Kind of. Probably not as nice as he wanted it, but they offered him something. At this point, he needs to work on building a legacy, and you only have so many good years in the NFL, right? Not everyone's going to be Tom Brady, so he needs to start working on that now. He's shown that he can be elite. He's got to continue doing that. I think he should play.
Yeah, he's he's fighting for something now, right? He's fighting to get that fully max deal. And with the play style that he plays at, I get it, right? He likes to run the ball a lot, and he kind of forces himself into bad situations sometimes. And I think he's willing to do that with a max, fully guaranteed contract. Not max, that's the NBA, but but yeah, same thing. But he's trying to get what Deshaun Watson got because he feels like, he's deserving of it because he doesn't have the off the field issues. But he does get a little more injured than the normal quarterback. Apparently the past 2 years he's missed, he hasn't missed a half season yet, but he's been close, and he's missed some playoff games as well. Paige, do you think he's going to play on the franchise tag?
I don't think so, but I don't think the injuries are a huge deal, obviously. Do you think that's the whole reason for all of this?
I think that he's trying to fight for something, not just for him, but for everyone, to, fully guarantee contracts. Because, he's trying to gain more power for players, kind of like how the NBA does. But I think he's fighting a losing battle right now just because no one else has joined him.
I think it will be if he does stay with the Ravens, I think it will be kind of a hostile environment. I don't know if the chemistry will be the same necessarily, because this has been going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his teammates might be sick of it, and all of us have played sports. We know if one person is kind of in the spotlight and causing all of this, it's gonna create a hostile dynamic with the team that wants to compete for a championship. So I think a couple weeks ago we talked about the destination possibly with Miami. And they talked about that on ESPN, I think, a couple days ago, because, Lamar is better than Tua. Tua's had 3 concussions. He's also prone to being injured, too. But I think, if he did go to Miami, he would have more pieces around him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they don't love to draft anyone at the wide receiver role. They don't like to sign anyone at the wide receiver role. The Ravens are a run first team, even if it's the quarterback. And I think they always will be a run first team as long as Harbaugh is still the coach there. And yes, it's important to get pieces around him. I just don't see them doing it. I just think that I think right now the Ravens organization switched to a new GM a couple of years ago, and they're not willing to give him a fully guaranteed deal because they want the Deshaun Watson sign and trade, I guess, to be a one-off situation where it's not a normal thing to give them a ton of money.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded, or you said it earlier, right? He's trying to fight this battle for other players, basically, to prove or get some precedent going. But this isn't the spot. This is the hardest spot for him to do it, right? Like you said, it's a run-first team. He's a very run-heavy quarterback who gets injured. So why would, if I'm the Ravens GM or front office, I'm not giving him all that money. Like, kind of like what Paige was saying too. Like, it is an injury thing at the end of the day. I'm not guaranteeing all this money to a guy who has been injured multiple times and is very likely to get injured again because of the scheme we play. So he's picking the battle, and I think it's noble of him to do, but it's just not the scenario he should be in to be trying to do that, right? Deshaun Watson was a very strange scenario for it to have happened. He went from Texans to a lot of public turmoil to the Browns. It's like the Browns needed a boost in their quarterback, and it was just kind of the right deal at the right time. I get what he's doing, but I don't think this is the spot for it to happen. And I hope he plays because he is a great quarterback, and he can prove it maybe over the next couple seasons for it to happen. But I don't see it happening. I wish it would, but I don't see it.
So if he plays under the tag, they have like until July 17th to reach the long-term deal. So I wonder, like, depending on who the Ravens draft, because they have 5 picks this year. They have like a late first round pick, and like a second, and like I think some 5th round pick. So I wonder if that would like kind of steer a different decision being made depending on like what pieces they get to build around him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of I think there's still a lot of collusion that's going on as well. I think all the owners kind of all mutually agree that what the Browns did, giving Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract, was going to be an outlier because you have the Falcons, the Dolphins. I think the Saints, before they signed Derek Carr, said that they're not going to be in the hunt for Lamar Jackson. And why wouldn't you, especially when he has shown you that he can be an MVP caliber player, other than kind of banding together as owners and saying we're not willing to give out fully guaranteed deals.
And also, I want to play devil's advocate again. If I'm the GM front office of the Ravens, yeah, he doesn't have the best wide receivers, but he has the number 2 tight end in the league, and like he does have a good run game for the most part, right? Like, it's not like he's helpless out there. He has something. It's not like he's drowning, and I don't know. I would factor all that in too if I was the front office. So
it's true. I mean, look what Patrick Mahomes does without a number 1 wide receiver. He's got a number 1 tight end, which acts as a number 1 wide receiver. But I mean, I would argue that the Ravens do have a better run game than the Chiefs. They might not have as good of a play caller, but I mean, if you look between the 2 quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, this next year is going to be making, I believe, $32 million, which is nowhere near what Lamar Jackson's looking for. So, again, you can play devil's advocate. The market is turning, and I think we'll see a new deal for Patrick Mahomes soon, just because they know that his value is significantly higher than what his contract is right now. But you are right that, to build a good team, you have to be willing to give up something too. So if he's really willing to push that, maybe they meet somewhere in the middle and they don't give him a fully guaranteed deal. But I think that's what Lamar's fighting for. He's fighting for something bigger. Yeah.
I don't think Lamar would go half-seas with them now. Because, like, depending on... Because Aaron Rodgers, like, side note, like, he'll probably make a decision, like, next couple weeks. and he's guaranteed like $50 million. So it's just like a continuous cycle that like I think a lot of shifts will be made like in the upcoming years of like quarterback deals.
You got Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts all next year. Let's see what they do.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Speaking of someone else that's been injury prone lately, Kevin Durant yesterday slipped in warm-ups and couldn't play last night. And it actually just came out that he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. Paige is in shambles over here. And yeah, it's been a rocky start for the Suns. When Durant has been out there, they've looked great.
Yes.
But he needs to be out there to do it. At this point, is Durant injury prone? Is he someone is this going to be a continuous thing?
Paige, you go first.
Okay. So I know you said that the Suns are off to a rocky start, but they're undefeated with Kevin Durant. And Booker's actually, I just want to talk about Booker for a second. He scored 35, 5 and 5 the last consecutive 4 games, which is like more than any Suns ever, which just shows like how like dynamic they are together. And like when you watch the Suns with Kevin Durant, like Kevin Durant's like one of the best players ever. But I think, he's, how old is he? Like 33, I think. Do you guys know?
He's close to there.
You're talking about
Okay, 33,
yeah.
34. He's missed, I think I saw like 40% of his games the past 2 years. So I don't know if he's injury prone. I think it's more of like it's unlucky parts of it. But he always comes back, and it doesn't really take him a lot to like get back into rhythm. And I did see like, so if he's out for 2 weeks, he'll only miss like 6 games. But if he's out for 3 weeks, he'll miss like 9, which he'll have like a couple games left of the regular season. So that'll be enough for him to get back into his mojo and everything. But I think he is a little bit.
Yeah, I fully agree with everything you just said. It's partly his age showing in the last few years, right? He is 34. I just checked. 34 that's when people consider retirement, right? So he's getting up there. But to say that his injury is going to prevent them from... whenever I think of Kevin Durant, I think he's top 2, top 3 in the league whenever he's healthy. So to consider him injury prone over the last few seasons, sure, but I'd still rather take that bet any day and hope that he can come back in time, or hope that he plays for any certain amount of time to make the team better, and he's going to beat people if he has the team around him. So yeah, he's probably injury prone, but it's Kevin Durant. I'm taking him.
Yeah.
I'm taking him.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because it's going to be how their chemistry is in the playoffs, because everybody's defense gets a little tighter in the playoffs. The mistakes are they come out a little more in the playoffs. So team chemistry is important. Not saying they can't do it, but this kind of comes back to the thing about Paige. I think that was the episode, or our podcast episode, that you weren't there for, but I said that Devin Booker would come out as a superstar because Kevin Durant's going to get, double teamed, or, have the best defender on Kevin Durant, which is going to open up a lot for Devin Booker. And we're seeing that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to win the playoffs this year just because of team chemistry. And this injury definitely doesn't help.
So how far do you think they'll go?
Depends who they play.
You could say the same thing about the Clippers too. Like,
you're right, 100%.
They'll only like go as far as like Kawhi or Paul George will take them, and like they have not looked the best. I don't know if you guys have watched them. Russ has been playing not that bad. They just haven't like found that gel yet with themselves. But yeah, I think they'll definitely make the Western Conference Finals. I'm not sure who they'll play, but I could see injuries playing a big part too.
They play the Kings, it's over.
Okay.
I actually play them. Like, the Kings are good. They're fun
good.
to watch.
They're not. If Kevin Durant's on the court, the Suns are winning.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
I have been waiting for the Kings to be good for the past like 6 years.
Do you like
Okay,
them?
I love De'Aaron Fox. Love De'Aaron Fox,
You've been rooting for
and
them since
I
2014.
yep. Since they drafted him, it's been a rough couple of years.
Yeah. Fox is awesome.
I love De'Aaron Fox. He's a great player.
Is he your favorite?
Yeah, for sure. Him and Jimmy Butler. If they're on the same team, oh my gosh, I would get both of their jerseys and they would be hanging.
Oh my god.
I love that. I love that.
We have a special guest on the show today.
I'm just glad it's not Chance.
Oh God.
Oh, all right. So continuing the NBA talk, does anyone feel like there's just so much talent in the NBA now? Like, I swear every single team just has these superstars. Like, even the Thunder with Shea, even with a budding star in the Pistons, and we're going to have Wembanyama next year. And
yes.
it's almost to the point where I think the NBA is ready for an expansion team, or even two, because they kind of have to make it even. But I mean, they get the revenue. They get enough revenue to support another team. Do you guys think it's time for an expansion team?
Justin, you can go if you want.
Okay.
First.
No, they should not.
Wow.
I think they're seeing these superstars, quote unquote superstars, because you have a team of 3 really good players, right? One of them's going to rise to the top naturally. And then you have bench players, role players who Bruce Brown is starting or 6th man. Like where are we lining up, the gauge of talent here? I don't know. But I think there's a lot of players on the bench. I think there's a lot of players in the G League that think that they can make it. That, sure, we could make 2 other teams, but then we're just thinning the playing field more. And personally, I like seeing these quote-unquote super teams with 2 or 3 really good players coming out in multiple teams now. When LeBron did it with the Heat, and I guess you could say again with the Cavs, like that was kind of the rise of these super teams. And now there's at least 2 or 3 in each conference. You could argue 3 or 4. So, but then you also have teams like the Pistons, right? Like you said, like, sure, there's a lot of potential, but they're completely garbage. So maybe we shouldn't dilute their pool even more. I don't think they're ready yet. I think they could easily do it to make more money. My only argument for it would be if they were to do it, to make some international teams and see how that goes. Get a team in Mexico, get a team in the UK, a couple teams in China. That would be the coolest thing I think they could do, instead of just add like a Seattle team or a whatever city you want to pick. That's my take on it.
Okay. I see your point, Paige. I'm assuming you have a different thought.
So my reason for like I want expansion teams is because like nowadays there's so much talent in the younger generation, like specifically like with draft stuff. So like I hear like all the time, this kid's another Kevin Durant, he's 6'10", he can shoot, dribble, do everything. And like a ton of these like younger teams that, they don't have the best records, like, the Pistons, the Spurs, the Thunder, that's the future, because, the super teams right now, they're not going to be here in, 5 years. So who are we going to watch? Because a lot of people, they associate, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, but now they're starting to, kind of promote the younger stars more, like, Shea, and whatnot. And then for like the Pistons, so like another prospect like you guys could look out for is like Cam Whitmore. He kind of reminds me of like young Miles Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
and then Scoot Henderson is one. Like, this is, like, probably the best draft class since, like, LeBron. So there's just so much talent, and, like, it kind of takes away, like, since there's not two other teams or, you know, whatever the number is, like, they don't have a chance to be in the NBA, right? So I don't know. I feel like in the next, like, 4 years or so, or even longer, like, I think I could see more teams for sure.
Yeah, especially with how many markets they could expand to, right? Like, they could go back to Seattle. They could pull another team into Pennsylvania and put one in Pittsburgh. They could, expand even further south, go with another Florida team. They have a ton of options. You can even put another one out east if you need to. And even restructure if you need to, where, if you put two Western teams, you could move the Grizzlies and the Pelicans out to the east and then add those teams. I just think that Paige has a very good point. There's too much talent coming up, and the way to grow it is to expand and create more teams. The NFL is looking into more teams as well, although they're looking at more of an expansion internationally, like Justin said. But yeah, I think it's time, especially with how they have structured the playoffs now. There's only 10 teams that don't make the playoffs, per se, after the play-in games. There's only 10 teams total that don't make the playoffs, which is absurd. That's a third of the league. So I do think it's time, and I definitely could see it soon.
So my rebuttal for the young talent, which I do think there are a lot of great players coming up, and it's always exciting to see that. But there's 60 picks. There's 60 picks in a season or in a draft, right? And how many turn out to be superstars? 1 or 2, maybe 3 if it's a really great draft. How many are on rosters after 5-10 years? 10, 20, 30? Maybe the full first round picks are still on rosters after 5 years. Like, I think we're overhyping some of the draft stock. Like,
so for example, like Jokic, he was a second round pick.
Well,
he actually
there's always an outlier.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but but in that same draft, there's probably a handful of guys in the first round that left after a couple of years. So I think I don't like seeing players on teams, right? And not to take money away from anyone or anything like that. I'm not gonna say names, but like seeing players on teams.
Say them, Justin. No. Say the name.
Where like they're not even playing. First of all, right? You have players on teams that don't play, right? And then to say that we should expand, then we're gonna have more players that don't like. If they do play, they're not top tier. Right? I'd rather see a team. It's kind of like the All-Star game discussion that people talk about. You want to see the best of the best go at it. If we have more teams, we're not seeing the best of the best. We're seeing a diluted version of that. We'll have one superstar every couple teams. So you can do that. You'll have more games, more action. It's always exciting. More fan base, all that fun stuff. And I don't think it's a bad thing for them. I just think personally, I like to see basketball play from the best of the best. I like to see the number of teams limited, unless they're going international. Because then that'd be cool. And I think they're getting a lot more international players anyway, so it's not a bad idea to even think about that. Same with the NFL.
Yeah, if you look at how much internationally they've grown in the past, this century.
Yeah.
The U.S. was absolutely dominating every single year. We have another guest. They were dominating every single year, and now they're competing with Spain and even Greece with Giannis and other countries, only because they've grown internationally so much, and they've other countries are caring about basketball now. Yeah. Look at Jokic. Jokic came from, was it Serbia? No, Slovenia.
No, Serbia.
Yeah.
No, Luka.
Slovenia's Luka. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But look, we have Luka and Jokic who have come internationally, and one is an MVP caliber, and one has won 2 already, and is about to win a 3rd.
Yeah.
You think he's gonna win?
Yeah, for sure. The only reason they wouldn't give it to him is because they don't want a three-peat.
Which would be stupid, but that's my take.
He has put up his best numbers so far, and they, again, the only reason why they wouldn't is because they wouldn't want a three-peat. They would want someone else to get it.
Yeah, like the Nuggets are actually like the first seed in the West right now.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And like I know like Joel and B, like they haven't really won anything like team wise, right? But like you can't like not look at their performances and be like, oh, like for sure, like Jokic is the MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Embiid has felt, you feel like he has not gotten his opportunity and he's been shunned by the NBA just because he's been forgotten too many times. And he's putting up great numbers this year. It's just when you look at what Jokic has done, he's gotten his best numbers so far this year. He's getting better. At some point, they're just going to have to call it like too good. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to value a triple double anymore like they did. The same thing with Westbrook when Westbrook got it.
Yeah. I mean, like for a center to average a triple double, I mean, come on.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
So, end of story. We're not expanding the NBA, right? That's what we're.
So, like, I agree with all your points, Justin. But like, my more thing is like having more teams gives like these younger players like more space to shine, and for like the fans to know who they are.
Yeah.
So it's not like when they're all gone, like the super teams and stuff, because like Steph's 36, like they're getting up there, right? It just gives us more of an opportunity to know these players. So like when they're done, no one's gonna be watching.
Yeah. So. That's true. I think we have a good middle class right now, though, with Jason Tatum.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I get your point. Yeah, it's just maybe if they were to expand, cap the team limit by one. Like go down to a smaller roster. Injuries.
Just 5 players.
Yeah, just pick up 6 and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
One gets injured. No matter. Exactly. No matter. You're playing with 4.
Coach hopping.
Exactly.
I get it.
All right. Speaking of younger players, we're gonna move into some March Madness previews.
Great transition.
You gotta love the connections, right? You gotta love them. All right. We have some good conferences, and we got some bad ones. You can't talk too much about one because then you got the Pac-12 like last year, who just blew out everybody, and had I think 4 teams in the Elite Eight, something like that. Might have been 3, but still over everyone else. They blew everyone else out of the water. So, who do we think? What conference do we think is going to have the best shot at winning an NCAA title? Paige.
Okay, I'll go. I think it will be the Big 12. So, not including COVID, they've won the past 2 with Baylor, and then Kansas, obviously. And I just think, that's the hardest conference to play in. So they're constantly playing each other and whatnot. They have some of the top draft prospects and college players. They have Jalen Wilson, Keontae George, Adam Flagler, tons of people. So I think, like, my pick to win, or, like, my top 2 is Kansas. I do have Alabama in there, but they have not been playing good as of late. I don't know if you guys have been watching them, but I think it's the Big 12. I know Houston is the favorite to win, but, like, they're the only ones out of the American Conference that, so you can't really count that. But I think it'll be the Big 12. I think I could see the Big East or SEC making a run too. I do really like UConn. But I think it'll be Big 12 for now anyway.
Yeah, Alabama's been a different team since the scandal with Brandon Miller. It's definitely affected them as a team. Justin, do you have a different answer?
I don't. I think everything. I know. I wish I could come up with one. I mean, Big Ten. Who knows?
Oh, Purdue. I saw Purdue's like their odds is like plus 500.
I did see Purdue is actually like kind of favored-ish. I was like, oh, that's interesting, but go Michigan. But no, I agree with that.
Oh, they're out.
Yes. I wish so. But yeah, I agree.
They had a rough game today.
Yeah.
We won't talk about them. I agree with that, though. I wish I had a differing take, but I agree.
Do you think Kansas is the top dog in the Big 12 though?
Yeah, probably in the Big 12. But
yeah,
Houston, Alabama, I would pick over them. I probably will in multiple brackets. So.
Yeah, I like Kansas State too. They've been playing good. They beat Kansas.
I haven't kept up on Kansas.
I think the SEC is going to shock a lot of people this year, though. I actually don't think it's going to be Bama.
Boo.
I think Texas A&M will make a run, and Tennessee's defense is elite. And elite defense wins you games in the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
Tennessee's going to make a run. They're not going to get upset by Michigan this next year or this year. So
I hope not.
I think they'll make. Yeah.
You never know.
Maybe
From
Michigan
far,
State, I don't know,
far
but-
away.
Yeah,
All the way from the
I think
NIT.
Tennessee's going to make a run. Yeah, you're right. They're going to get upset by Toledo, though.
Oh God.
Mac action, baby.
God.
I actually didn't know this, but Toledo averages the second most points this year.
Wow.
Out of any college team.
Not bad.
Their defense sucks, though. So.
Yeah, I don't think they'll compete with with these top tier teams, but we'll see.
You never know.
They're gonna upset. Just you watch.
Basketball's a game of just scoring more points. So if they score more,
Yeah.
they win. That's all you have to do.
All right, we got plenty more to talk about with the NCAA tournament. We're gonna have an earlier podcast episode this next week, so that in preparation for March Madness. March Madness starts on next Thursday, so if we started at our normal time, we'd be a little late. So we're gonna start early next week so that we can help you make a bracket. But stay tuned for that. It's probably gonna come out Wednesday. Thank you guys. Anybody got anything else?
Nope.
Nothing from me. Hopefully,
Go Rocket.
Hopefully, Kevin Durant comes back healthy.
Is that sarcasm?
Hopefully.
No, I like Kevin Durant.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right, see ya.